Hello and welcome back to the podcast, We Are Selling. My name's Lee Woodward, the author of the Complete Salesperson course. Today's podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Nexar. Nexar is a dedicated real estate platform specialising in lead generation and database management of the entire real estate company for BDMs and agents working as one platform to generate opportunity. Nexar seamlessly integrates into your business systems, allowing you to have an extended solution. Let's get started with this week's episode. Hello and welcome back to the podcast, We Are Selling. Today, our topic is Play It Down the Line. And joining me from McGrath on the Central Coast, home of Matt and Jamie, Mat Steinwede known to everyone, is Mr. Peter Morris. Peter, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lee. Pleasure.
Now, Peter, it's quite amazing to have you in the studio. Just for our listener, you've been part of the Mat Steinwede world right from the beginning. Let's get started with your background. What age did you first start working for Matt?
I was just turned 20.
And what did you do?
Sales cadet. So from there, it's just all the grunt work, the open home signs, even then the call flute signs, had to put them up, the sold signs, the deliveries, the pre-list kits, the letterbox drops, the door knocking, all the starter stuff.
And being cadet is one of the greatest jobs in the world because you're just running around like a lunatic. Matt's got all these deals going on, need this dropped off, that picked up, that over there. What did you observe and back then you're working with Matt, who's only 5 or 6 years into his career. What did you remember most?
There's heaps. But I guess at the time you just think you're doing the job. But as years go by, you created discipline and consistency and just learning how probably easy, even though if you do it a lot, it's quite hard, but how easy it is to basically start real estate.
Now, back then you did your time as a cadet, but then you moved out of the area. Where did you go?
Yeah, well, after 4.5 years with Matt, went back to Uluru. So I did a year of Uluru before I met Matt and Jamie. So my wife now, but girlfriend at the time, we went back out there and thought we'd save money and travel the world, but we had 2 kids instead.
As you would. And what did you do out there?
Went into retail, which was a bit odd, but I was managing an Aboriginal art gallery and non-Indigenous art gallery as well out there in the resort. I fell into Aboriginal art.
I didn't know that. What did you learn doing that?
Culture. Respect, how they see the world and especially Australia. It shows how, I guess, ignorant I was as a teenager and probably many of us could be. But learning true Indigenous culture was a maturing and eye-opening experience. Yeah.
That's amazing. You then returned back to the Central Coast with your children and now-to-be wife, and you returned back to McGrath. Now, you could work anywhere, but what returned you back to McGrath?
I think I was always going to come back to McGrath. Actually, I definitely was. There was no way I was going to go for anywhere or anyone else. Learning them with Matt and Jamie, it was a university degree for real estate. Now people do an online course, but to do that time frame with them, I just knew. Plus, then you got the John McGrath factor. And I got to meet him, obviously, because we did become the first franchise on the Central Coast at Terrigal. But yeah, it was a no-brainer. And real estate has always actually taught me basic concepts when I was in retail and customer service. That real estate background actually helped me in other industries and vice versa.
And that's why I called today Play It Down the Line. Matt and Jamie with their little office in Terrigal, and then obviously my connection with John doing the Hot Topics program and then Matt doing the Mat Steinwede system. You were there the whole time through that. And today you've actually become a shareholder in McGrath. So from being this young pup cadet right through, you're now sitting in the boardroom meetings with the McGrath group for the Central Coast. Did you ever think that would happen?
It was always like this imaginary dream. Like, someone says, I want to be an astronaut and land on the moon. But when it happened, I don't know, it's new, fresh at the moment, so it's still sinking in. But I've got to set new goals.
Well, let's go back to this middle part. You returned back to the Central Coast. Did you go back into Matt's team or straight out back by yourself?
I actually went into a team, with Matt Dawson after that, all in the Edelong office. And then had a little stint on my own. I was petrified. I was so comfortable, and it is quite amazing in a team. There's so many more advantages in a team, and I think I got very comfortable with that. Plus, there was just more benefits. But then when an opportunity came to look after Ourimbah, where I live, I took it.
What age were you when you returned back to come back into sales?
I actually came back in 2016. Well, when I went out on my own, I was 36. So when I started as a sole agent, so 34, sorry. Yeah. So I'm 43 now.
What an amazing journey. And one thing you've just brought to our listeners' attention, which is really important. When you're working in a team, you've got a Matt Dawson or a Mat Steinwede or all these great people around you, they can make it look easy. And then suddenly when you went out by yourself, that's like, where's all these calls? Where's all this heat and rhythm that's around me? What did you do then when you hit the cold spot coming in as an agent, as a solo?
Something I've probably noticed is the difference when you work in a team. You can do the same amount of hours, but you don't have that stress about, finding listings and sales, negotiations, vendor, service, etc. So it's sort of mentally free. But as a sole agent, it's full on mentally and physically. But because I probably trained myself, or Matt trained me even from a cadet, I was working 6 days a week from day one. I think that helps mentally. You can do the hours. As a sole agent, you got to do everything. And I think the goal was to get to a point where I can put on an associate or actually admin. That was my key.
How interesting that people think, okay, I'm going to go out solo. It's all mine. Everything's yours. I can assure you. The mailbox drops. Yet there's also this next fear of, I can't put someone on because I can't afford it. But you came from a team-based environment. It was played down the line to you. So getting somebody else on, you knew you could play it down the line.
The team dream was always there. Whether I was going to be in a team and then be able to probably mold into that and be a team player with another agent, I was happy for that. But now I'm doing it myself because that didn't happen in the past. I'm wanting to do that. I do have Nate with me, and I've now got him as basically a part owner of my business. So we want to grow and go to another level.
Ourimbah came up as an area, which was an opportunity. So you've shifted areas too. You're at Terrigal, Edelong, and these are all 20 minutes apart, which seems like a lot, but it is a lot. They're quite different, completely styles of real estate when you go over those bridges. Then you've gone over the train tracks and you've gone into a very different area. Take me into the day one, week one, month one of landing in Ourimbah, your own area. And when it came up, you jumped at it, but you went in as a solo. What did you do?
Door knock for literally 2 years. It wasn't every day because consistency and discipline, it's hard when eventually you're trying to do everything at once. I sort of punished myself. My pretend day off on Thursday, I always called it, because you think you're going to have it off, but you don't. That I just door knocked all day. Doing that for 2 years, just introduce yourself at the beginning, but then you're just offering either the suburb reports or CMAs like I used to do back in the day. That was I was just offering things. I really wasn't asking too much for the business. Of course, it gets into a conversation like that, but the door knocking was big. And then when I started to be able to have a bit of money to sponsor back into the community. I do a lot of sponsorships with different sports and even the school. So as soon as I could do that, I did. But consistency with letterbox drops. Mum and I smashed it out every single day or week and month, and Mum was a big help.
Wow, didn't know that either. And I'm having a surreal moment here from doing the original Mat Steinwede system of Matt talking about saturation and just get to know people and build it up. Been back in the studio with him 2 weeks ago, 22 years later, him saying the same thing that you've just said. There's definitely a sequence to it. You claim the doors, which is what door knocking is all about. You weren't asking them to sell, just introducing yourself. You're building up those doors, you're building up the data. What data did you build up in that time frame?
I find people door knock and sometimes they say, I met 20 people, and you sort of say, well, did you get any names? No. I'm like, what? So you've just done a whole day's worth of work for nothing? My minimum requirement was to get their first name, which is very easy to do when you're chatting at the door, and you might have even a cold client that says, I'm not looking to sell. But at the end of the convo, you go, look, my name's Peter. Sorry, what was your first name?
Lee.
Lee, thank you. Is that spelled L-E-E?
It is.
Perfect. No worries, Lee. I appreciate your time. Have a good one. And then when the thank you card came later, at least I spelt your name correctly. And then I look on RP data, get your surname. Back then I could do white pages, possibly get your phone number. And then I had a bit of data. So it took a bit of time. And that was more like my nighttime shift from 7 till midnight, trying to do data entry when you're a sole agent.
So you've got the data. You were using the CMA drop, that same one Matt was using back in that time?
Yeah, or the RP data suburb report.
What do you do today?
So a lot of it now is, whether it's the just listed invite, just solds, open house invites, the VIP open homes invites. So it's sort of like just sort of getting the community involved in our process more than anything. Of course, asking for if they just want updates, appraisals, or, thinking of selling. The thinking of selling thing, I know agents can hit it straight away, but I sort of leave that at the end. I don't want to come across that I'm only there for a listing. I just want to help.
Pete, we've just spent a good time understanding this background. Where is your business today? What have you achieved over this time from cadet to now that's allowed you to have this team-based business that you've got? Where are you today?
So now, I guess if you're looking at a performance base or GCI, we did 1.35 end of last year. So we're trying to improve because the year before I did 132. So it's on par. I'm not complaining. But we need to double that because my team is myself, Nate, so 2 agents, Louise, who our backbone, she does all the magic behind the scenes, the admin, the marketing, edits and things like that. And then young Cameron, who's our sales cadet. And yeah, he was a mini me, I guess.
Just for our listener, and in the UK and the US, what's the average sale price of property in the area where you are?
17,000. Oh, sorry, that's the GCI.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the average...
That's okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, but the actual average sale price sort of sits around that 950. Sometimes you creep into $1 million because you might sell a larger acreage, which will get that sort of $2 million.
Yeah, just wanted you to confirm that because it's bread and butter real estate. You're not doing things with wharfs, you're not oceanfront. It is a true regional area. And I'll take you through the steps of the stages. In lead generation, did the door knocking, community connection, done the sponsorship. What else have you done in lead generation that's allowed you to get this sort of consistency?
I've actually created with the team a process on Local Agent Finder because they have swarmed the market with their clickbait. So you do get inquiries from that. So we have a process to manage that. It's like a marketing calendar for your letterbox drops, but it's just for that or open agent or any referral system thing like that because you shouldn't take that for granted. And so we service that. Social media is great. Of course, everyone's doing a bit more there and going with actual companies with real tech and algorithms, better than boosting yourself. They're sort of the main ones. But having the team, I'm able to do really good open homes. And because I do Sunday open homes, that elevates us more, helps with the letters because it's the word Sundays on there, our social media. Buyers who see that, they see that massive. And if they're thinking to sell, most of them want that. So I find my Sunday open homes changed my career. It's a sacrifice because that is your 7th day and that is your day off. But, the reward's more important to me and the family.
So the layering effect happens on that though, where you start to get the results because people know you're available and you're out there. What was the difference with the Sunday Open for you?
It actually happened in 2019 in a property in Ourimbah. I remember it very well because 2019 was Royal Commission. The market was going a bit flat. Buyers were just waiting. Loans were dropping with the affordability. And I was getting zeros and ones. It hit 100 days. Ourimbah was over 100 days on market back then. And I just asked to do a Sunday with the owner and I had 7 groups and it sold. And I went, that contradicted everything that people say. Length of time on the market, was it the marketing, all these little things that you can use as a mental
defining moment.
And that then went, wow. And I tell people even today, I meet more successful people to property on Sunday than any other day of the week.
So Sunday became the defining moment. What happened then? You've got your breakthrough, lead generation's kicking in. Take me into lead conversion. One of the hardest things you would have had to learn because with your time with Matt, the incredible Matt Dawson, another incredible agent for McGrath, you learnt lead generation, you learnt to pound the pavement and also do the CMAs. Take us into learning how to present and get Pete across as the lead agent.
Even right now, I can feel my body sort of get nervous because that was my fear to being a sole agent, listing presentations. Fear of the public speaking is always a thing, but for me, I just like, how do I present to hopefully have the business? And that was my fear, but now it's the fun part. I think you sort of unlock how to talk to people in a way that, how can I help them to maximize their outcome, their benefits, the positivities, and when there's a negative, how do I fix it? And once you realize all that, it's actually quite fun. So yeah, mastering that listing presentation is great. But using case studies and even talking about stories like a Sunday buyer and how they fell in love, but they got to see it on Saturday and Sunday and how it negotiated and how it created more competition, that helps. But then also after ARIC a few years ago, I learned about VIP. And so I've implemented VIP launches, and that's another changing moment.
VIP and working that marketplace early is staged marketing. And I know at a recent talk that we did for McGrath, stepping that out so the owner understands that difference is a key way of doing it. Do you use any props? Do you use any visuals? What are you doing there?
I probably take more stuff into listing presentations than most. I've got my whole bag, with the laptop and iPad. That's for your tech. That's really to go through recent sales, I guess, to gauge that. But I have a lot of materials, whether it's from social media, stats and case studies, VIP case studies. We've got marketing materials so they see what they're actually going to be investing in.
And these are your tools of trade.
Oh, yeah. There's probably about 6 or 7 binded little clips within my folder that I take to every property, whether I need to use every single one of them or not. That depends on the situation or the conversation. Our marketing folder, the little booklet that we use, if I don't have that, I say to myself, you won't get the listing, because marketing is one of the biggest part of the listing presentation. And sometimes when you do the proposal, it's the deal breaker if the price is like, whoa. But going through marketing, that changed how I do my listing presentations. And again, like benefits and what's the reason you want to do that as a vendor, that unlocks it.
So Pete, this is like your marketing menu, and you're using the technique of the talking pad and pen. Take us into that.
Yeah, well, I guess some people might go in and present and just say, yeah, you're on the internet or realestate.com. But I break it down to every element and talk about them, because I wouldn't get an owner to do something I wouldn't do myself or advise mum and dad to do. So once they see the reasoning, the benefits, sometimes the value or the investment, outweighs any concerns that they had.
What's a good week of presentations for you?
So as in how many?
Yeah.
Look, probably a good one would be 7 listing presentations a week. As an average at the moment. It's a little bit quieter at the moment, I guess. But look, we do probably 30 appraisals a month as a minimum. That's what we want to do. And then obviously some of those turn into a listing presentation without you really knowing.
And stock on hand, what's the right amount of properties for you to be carrying with the team?
Yeah, you need to be at least having 10 to 15 listings at any time. But as I say that, I think now I've only probably got about 7 on the books. But August, September is going to be pretty good.
So you got a lot going to drop in August, September. That's when they're going to drop. And that was a very famous audio a couple of weeks ago of when will it drop? When will it drop? People look at how much data they've got, but having that predictability of when they're going to drop becomes another technique. Take us into vendor management. This has been your strength, really. Once you get an owner on board, the Peter experience gives you that method of introduction to the next one where one sale should generate the next 5. What have you learned about the vendor management process?
I think it really starts from the moment you meet them, when you might share a story about the last sale in their street or around the corner and they talk about that scenario. That'll help them if they ever go near that exact same scenario. But even your listing presentation, you're talking about how it's going to happen, how was their last experience when they may have sold. If they've built a home 40 years ago, then you're just basically telling them like they've never understood real estate in the world. And I sort of do that for everyone, even friends or family. If I list their property and they say, oh, don't worry about going through it. I go, no, we're doing this together. We go through the journey and we need to be on the same page. And it's the same with my whole team. They sort of know how I talk to clients. But the best thing is it's all true. There's no makeup like you hear in the industry. It's all just what's actually happened recently. I still won't just talk about something that happened 4 years ago. There's already new case studies and scenarios that happen every week. So that's a big part of just how to communicate to owners. But my process and the team, especially from the VIP launch to going live, that moment in there's a lot of learnings that not only us as agents, but the owners have, and we do it together. Because if an owner wants a certain price, we can explore that at the beginning. And then we might find out we're either right or wrong before you go live. So that alone is a big part of doing it together and not just going live and then the agent 2 weeks later just hitting the owner down saying, no, not enough inspections, no offers, you got to drop your price, which is probably what some of them do.
What about set up to sell?
So there's always, say, that listing presentation, you do the paperwork, et cetera, or electronic paperwork, and then you have your set to sell meeting. But you'll have a little one, but I have a big one between the VIP launch and going live.
That's really interesting because you're allowing the marketplace to take some of the heavy lifting. The VIPs can happen. These are our followers. This particular lady here has been looking for 6 months. She's missed out on 3 properties. She's only engaging at this level. She thinks the other homes had more volume to them, though they had more space. So you're actually using VIP to launch as really the price setting moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one benefit. I've actually got 26 benefits to why I do it. I've written them down. Because sometimes, as an agent, you're not there to say your home is or isn't worth something. Your job's to find out and then negotiate it, usually up. So it is a journey together because as a homeowner, you might have a certain price because you built the home, so it's valuable more so to you than the next guy. So yeah, it's good to get actual factual market analysis or feedback. You can't beat it. It's not an agent just telling you.
When we look at playing it down the line, and I was there at the beginning when you started, and to see you do what you've done today, yet still always in a team-based business. You didn't make that error of, I'm going to go and open my own shop. You and Matt are the same with that. That's the worst thing on the world you could do. You're professional real estate people. You don't mind being part of the group, but to do your own little standalone thing is not you. You are from the brand. And it's amazing to see the similarities between yourself and Matt. Now you're the lead agent. You're the leader of the team. What's your focus with your team members to play it down the line for them to learn?
I guess like Nate Waters with me, he's a mini me, as in he will talk and act and he even knows how I think now. So it's very easy for us to brainstorm and role play when needed. But more importantly, at least he and I are saying the same things to clients, whether they're buyers or sellers. It just works. And then even my young cadet, I don't hold back. I'm not trying to hold back and say, oh, you don't need to learn this. You don't need to learn this. Whether they come or go or something like that, it's, that's always in the back of your mind because you give them too much knowledge and they get excited. But I don't hold back. My background was in training when I left and moved to Uluru and whatnot. I got into training and doing courses on it. So I do love doing that more so than if someone came and they learnt and left. That's okay. They've still got to do it when they leave. But look, I do just train my team in how I talk so that if they're on the phone to a client when I'm not there, at least they understand probably the language, which I probably learned from people like yourself and others.
Words are so important. I've actually got a course coming up called the 90-Day Coaching Program. When I was writing that, I didn't start with prospecting and listing. I've actually started module 1 as words, because if you hit the phone with the wrong words, if you get into a lounge room with the wrong words, you meet anyone with the wrong words. And words have this whole series of feelings and emotions that it's like when we use the words, we need to improve the price versus reduce the price. It's one word, but it's so simple. And I think if people get their languaging right, and you were very fortunate to get languaging right early without even knowing what you were doing there, you were just around someone who was very, very good with words, and then you come to the training. But I think going into retail was very important to you as well, because that's face-to-face and in a very different environment. So you've come to respect words, and that's what you're playing down the line most now, because the actions, you're either going to do them or you're not. But if you're doing the actions with the wrong words, that's where it all falls apart.
Yeah, it's funny when you say retail. In retail, you walk in a shop and they say, oh, do you need a hand? Are you okay there? Can I help you? And usually we all say, no, I'm all good, thanks, just looking. But it's that second question or asking the same question again. And that's the same when you're door knocking. Are you thinking of selling? No. Are you sure you're not thinking of selling anytime this year? And they go, oh, maybe when the kids finish high school. Bingo, conversation starts. So yeah, it is interesting, just communication. Even with the whole office and our team and things, I do talk about language. Even when we're, say, the Monday sales meeting, someone says something, I'll put my hand up to say, hey, try and say it this way. It's just learning from human behavior, body language. When you say a word and someone's face cringes, you've said something wrong, even though in your world you've just tried to help them. It's just how you say it, and also just the one word tweak. It's so funny. Like even say, I've got to drop the price. I could even say to a certain client, we need to make the price more sexy. Like that's just, and they giggle about it.
Yeah.
But you don't say that to everyone. They'll be like, what? But it works with some people, right? But improving the price, or I need to attract more buyers is me saying we need to drop the price or its price isn't right. So, yeah, just there's ways to soften everything and backing it up with why you're saying that, not just saying we need to do this. There's a reason why and here's the evidence. That's why activity reports and the daily WhatsApp chats always help because selling homes with us is very active and live versus someone just waiting for a Saturday open home and seeing if the agent rings after the open house.
So WhatsApp's gone right across the country as the preferred method of vendor communication. You've got quite a traditional owner and some senior owners in that area. How did they adapt to the WhatsApp?
Yeah, it's funny at first. And then if you get a bit of a weird thing on the news with, China, like it's weird how people think, okay, we're just selling a house here. Like I basically set it up for them. That's probably the biggest thing. Even if I think maybe they aren't tech savvy, I'll just ask. Even at the end of the listing presentation, it's a bit of a close as well. When you're talking about how we communicate in WhatsApp, a soft close. And yeah, I just sort of set it up for them and have that notification on, which is usually auto. You might get a divorced couple that don't want to share the conversation. So one will be on that, but one will be on an SMS. Or yeah, if you did have someone really like, I'm not doing it, which is rare now. It'll be just SMS group chats.
Perfect. Buyer management, what's your play it down the line here? What have you learnt?
That changes your career if you do it well. Not only with the prospecting, lead gen, door knocking and et cetera in that first 2 years, you might only have 2 listings for the month. You got heaps of time to talk to buyers. Servicing buyers is the key to business in 3 to 5 years. And I think too many people think the buyer today will be nothing tomorrow. That buyer today is your client for life. And it is amazing when you do get a call, even if it is only 2 years later due to sad circumstances, that they ring you based on your buyer work. And I only had that this week where they'd been looking for over 6 months. They bought and they said, we've met every agent around. We're not even going to call any other agents. Pete, we want you to list our property. That is the biggest compliment I think you can ever have in real estate, apart from saying, oh, you did a good job selling my house and great price. That buyer service, I tell my team that helping a buyer, they will probably tell more people about you than the seller who sold with you, because a buyer in their journey, they might not sell for 5 years, but along the way, they're telling everyone you should give Pete Morris a call. He really helped us. And that's huge.
Pete, an absolute incredible story from cadet to shareholder. And, there was a photo that I saw, it must have been a month ago, of the opening of the new Maitland office in the most stunning building. And I saw you there and Matt Dawson was there as well. And I'm thinking, that's like an hour and a half from you guys. What are you doing at the opening? And yes, it's one of the group openings, but I didn't know you were becoming a shareholder and it's only just happened. So congratulations on that. My final question for you. What's Peter Morris passionate about for the future with the real estate team you've created in the group that you've now invested in? What excites you for the future?
To be a super team. I want to be bigger. We want to provide more service and help more people. Growth is always on my mind constantly. Whenever something goes wrong, how do we make it better next time? Not harp on why it went wrong, just what we'll do better. For me, it's a team of 4. But we want to be bigger within the office. I want to be an office size, really, within an office. I see the future of real estate being dominated by teams versus being a sole agent, and we all start somewhere. But I think like becoming shareholder now, that was a huge dream. I probably didn't, that was a fantasy, really. But now my new dream is focusing on the team, building the team with my team, and actually basically one day having them financially invested within my team. And getting those rewards back financially as well. That's sort of my goal at the moment.
What do you see when you look at, when I came in to do that talk, it must have been 4 weeks ago, I'm sitting there watching the end of month and everyone's figures come up. And the winner of the month is Mr. Mat Steinwede with $830,000 in fees for the month. I'm standing in the room and I'm going, oh my God, here we are in regional Australia. That is massive numbers. What do you see when you see that?
Well, I'm happy to be number 2 or 3, but I think I remember some company did some promo saying number 2 always looking to improve, something like that.
Yeah,
and
we always work harder.
Yeah, just things like that resonate, and Team Steinwede, that's what we're going to be one day. And but it is amazing to have such I know, a benchmark and leadership like that. Yes, there's benchmarks all around the country, but in your own house, it's something to admire. And everyone, even in the network, if you did get close to their GCI for the month, or you maybe beat it, like one or two have, it's like the biggest buzz, like for people to say, wow, you beat Team Steinwede. Yeah. And Team Steinwade would pat everyone on the back for that too. But it's good to have that, because if you are number one in your own network, it is a bit hard to be pushed to the limits. And how do you unlock growth when you think you're already there?
Well, Peter Morris, an absolute pleasure to do your interview. From seeing you grow up in front of my eyes, and then I was only meeting with Jamie Woodcock the other week and he shared the news and I said, wow, because I'd mentioned you because I was about to do the Mat Steinwede Ultimate Real Estate Success Program, which was amazing as well. You were mentioned in that. But congratulations and thank you for appearing on We Are Selling.
Thank you so much, Lee. This is a huge honour. Thank you.